a conversational two-way process where I explain about HypnoJab, but also listen to what people have got to say and also answer the questions if I can do as well, so that it's more interactive. It's like a coffee chat rather than something that's stuffy. So by way of introduction, I don't actually know who's on the this in my audience. So by way of introduction, just some background. So I trained years ago at the London College of Clinical Hypnosis, and I loved every minute of it. It's many years ago now, about 25 years. I can't believe it. 25 years ago. Thank God for bloody Botox, I'm telling you. So 25 years ago ish. And I met a man called Michael Joseph. I'm sure some people will remember him. And he was a real formidable character in my life, really, because he really believed in me. And obviously he was the CEO or MD of the London College of Clinical Hypnosis that was. And I trained in it and was very inspired by the people I was trained by, like Ursula James and so forth. And for some reason, I don't know how I did it, as a man that was average leaving school, I got a distinction. So I was really proud. I'm still very proud of my distinction in clinical hypnosis at the London College of Clinical Hypnosis, and then went on to hit the real world where things really did change quite a lot. And by the way, if I look down, it's because I've got all my crib notes, so I want to make sure I don't leave anything out. So over the last 25 years-ish, I've seen many people, many different types of people, from the window cleaner to the vet to an MP to Nigel Farage's PA, who I can now say, to all sorts of celebrities as well. So I've kind of, you know, to just normal people who I adore. But now what I do is I don't see as many because, number one, I can't be asked, and number two, I do other things as well. So as Tom indicated, what I also love to do still is bits of television and debates where they want a certain opinion. And also, I was very fortunate to have a number of book deals over the years as well, publishing deals, and my own TV series in the UK. And then I went over to Holland because I got a TV show over there. So I presented in Holland as well. And that was great. So from doing very little, I did pretty shite at school. You know, I've done all right. I've done all right. But when I finished my studies in hypnosis and hit the real world, I found that I was pretty shit, really. And by the way, I do swear, so you're gonna have to put up with that occasionally. It's just me. And I was rubbish because I was trying to be a therapist. I was trying to be this head-tilting, analytical academic, I guess, trying to find out reasons why people were like they are as one, which, you know, has its place. I get that. But I was over formalizing it. I was being too formal. And one day I said to my partner, I always remember it, I said to Alan, do you know what? This just isn't working for me. I've read the books and I've done my exams and I've done really well, blah, blah, blah. And he said, why? I said, I just don't feel I'm being myself. So he said to me, well, just be yourself. So it was great. He kind of empowered me, bless him. And from that day on, I was me. And I decided I really wanted to specialize in weight loss because I was kind of up and down myself with weight. One day I was a fatty and the next day I wasn't, sort of thing. And with weight, the way that I approached it when I became me was very arm around the shoulder. However, also very direct in a very warm way. So it weren't about being horrible to people, but it was about saying to them, the reason you're fat is because you're not owning it. You're not taking responsibility or whatever it is. Yes, you can blame your mother when she was throwing donuts at you when you were a child. Yes, you can blame your dad because they locked you in a wardrobe and you were hungry. I'm having none of that bullshit. And that was my style. The weight melted off them. No matter what background they were coming with, whether it was, you know, a trauma, they thought it was a trauma, or they'd been told by some hypnotherapist, other hypnotherapists, oh, you're an emotional eater, and all of these, or you're, the one that still makes me laugh was, you're not aware when you're eating. I'm sorry, people are aware when they're eating. So I kind of took that approach, but with warmth and heart. So I decided from that moment, weight loss, I also soon learned, and this is the first thing I would say to people from the Steve Miller way, is that hypnosis on its own for weight management, weight loss, weight control does not work. It just doesn't. So, but it's one part of it. So there's what I found in the end, there was three parts that were really important, and these are all incorporated into HypnoJab. So the first part, yes, was about the imagination and getting the thought process right, which is hypnosis, I guess. Then the second part was about developing our own motivational plan. So we've got a push style of motivation, which is a no nonsense, get a grip style of motivation, and the pull style of motivation, which was the kind of nice motivation, like the dress, show me a picture of your dress, all that sort of thing. So there was the hypnosis, the motivational plan, and then thirdly, a very simple, I wanted to develop a very easy to do, easy to use plan to eat. So not a diet, but a kind of food planning system. So I developed this 80-20 system, and within that, people use different creative portion controls that I developed. So for example, when people were eating their food to eat, make sure they could eat less and motivate themselves to eat less, I would do things like get them to eat in front of that dress that they want to fit into, or on other people actually preferred a more harder style, which was some people would eat in front of their fat photo that they dreaded. And I would coach them to actually talk to themselves as they were eating to regain the control. So you have three arms, if you like, to weight management, the way that I pioneer it. And fast forwarding a bit, then we had different things like hypno band and that sort of thing, very, out there. And then obviously a couple of years ago, my creative commerciality, my ears pricked up thinking, this Ozempic and Wegovy and Saxenda is going to make a lot of pharmaceutical people very rich. There's got to be a hypnotic alternative. So what I developed was HypnoJab, decided to copyright it and trademark it and all of that, making sure, because I thought, hang on, I think this is going to do well. But so for about a year, I was testing it, trialing it, getting people to do it. My fat people, as I call them, they don't have a problem with that. And they were really loving it. They were really loving it for a number of reasons, which I'll go into. So basically, HypnoJab from the outset had to be very quick. It could not be sit in a chair for 30, 40 minutes, maybe more, listening to me drone on, delivering suggestion. It had to be very different, because when people take their Ozempic once a week or whatever it is, it takes seconds. They just jab themselves and then that's it. So I wanted HypnoJab to be very quick and also very easy to use. Very easy to use, simple. But then I thought to myself, okay, these people that pay to have their HypnoJab also need the 80-20 meal planning system. They also need motivational ideas for motivational intervention. But what about the long term? Because I'm a man of the real world, I believe. Because I thought, okay, they'll buy the HypnoJab process, learn it, and then, well, they'll probably get bored after a week or two and then go back to normal. So I thought to myself, there's got to be something else. So now as part of the HypnoJab, the users have the HypnoJab users community, where yours truly, once someone delivers HypnoJab to a client, what happens is they pass them over and that person becomes a member of the HypnoJab users community, where they've got myself and other practitioners, if they want to do it, inputting additional motivation, spontaneous live feeds where we talk, additional hypnosis videos, audios, and so forth. So what I wanted to do, which I've now achieved, which is lovely, is from a client's perspective, they go through a process of 3 sessions where they learn how to do the HypnoJab, the 3 HypnoJabs, which I'm going to come on to. And they also are coached in 80-20 and motivational techniques, but they also then have the HypnoJab users community. And as I say, in the HypnoJab users community, it's great because you get in the real world, and it's not talking about boring academia. It's talking, not all academia is boring, by the way, but what it's talking about is where they're going to start shopping. Oh, Margaret's gone and bought I don't know, a Christmas dress several sizes smaller. This is brilliant. And Margaret then says in the feed on the HypnoJab users group, yes, and I've been HypnoJabbing for several weeks, and this, you know, it's blah, 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 blah. So we talk about anything, really, anything at all. So then I thought, then I'll come on to, okay, so what is HypnoJab? What do they do? So the client is coached to use one HypnoJab at a time. So in week 1, they learn how to do the HypnoJab for food control. They are also in week 1 coached how to use the 80-20 meal planning system. And then they go. Week 2, the client is coached how to do HypnoJab number 2, which is about portion control. And they are also coached how to use behavioral portion control techniques. So this is not about saying, oh, use a smaller plate and all of that claptrap. This is about coaching someone to do things such as learn to talk to themselves constructively when they are eating their meal at night, or, as I mentioned, another example, also eating the meal, looking at that dress they're determined to fit into, and so forth, and so forth. Then you've got the third HypnoJab, which is my favorite, which is the motivational control HypnoJab. This is the one where clients are coached, also in some practical motivational techniques they can use. They are coached in that, but they're also coached to do HypnoJab number 3, which is all about their motivation. So if one day they feel that maybe they're at work or something, and you know, Betty brings all the donuts in because it's her birthday, and they're thinking, I really want to say no to a donut, they can just at their desk or in the loo HypnoJab themselves for motivation so that they don't cave into the donut. So they go through a process of 3 HypnoJab processes, but each HypnoJab process is complemented by a practical tool, if you like. Then the client goes into the HypnoJab users group, where they then receive ongoing, there's no time limit, they can stay in it forever, ongoing support as well, which I adore, which is great. So that's a bit about the structure. The HypnoJabs themselves, when I was sitting down thinking about this, I thought, this, like I mentioned, this has got to be very quick, because there's no way on this planet that an average client is going to have half an hour to do a HypnoJab process every morning, even 15 minutes. This has got to be very quick. So I thought to myself, okay, well, I'm going to have to design something that is easy, that can be, to a degree, the protocol can be used for all 3 HypnoJabs, which it is. But it's got to excite them as well. It can't be hard work. So in summary, with each HypnoJab has a colour. They can also give it their own name if they want to, but most people just don't. They just use the colour. And they go through a process where they sit down. If it's safe to do so, they could do it standing up with their eyes open, because you don't need to close your eyes all the time. They don't relax. It is important that they do not relax, because if I take them into relaxation, if they take themselves into relaxation, well, that's one of the reasons they're fat, is because they're not enthused about themselves. They're not excited. They're not aspirational. Most people. So it's got to be very quick. It's got to be energetic, sort of thing, without going over the top. So basically, each HypnoJab, they will, let's say they sit down, they sit up tall. Now, the first part of it, as they do it, is or what will I call it, emotional change of state. Okay, so if they're feeling a bit, it's in the morning and I've just got out of bed and I feel like stuffing my face with loads of jam on toast or whatever. Well, and I'm thinking, whatever. It's important they change the state. So they will sit down and deliberately change their state. So they will assume via their body language and their thought process the more positive state of being before they commence it. And as my practitioners do, they will make it clear, if you do not do that, it will not work. That's made clear to them. I mean, I will say to someone, if you do not do that, it won't work and you'll stay fat. You've got to make your mind up whether you're in this to benefit or not. So they sit down and they change the state, and so change the body language, deliberately smile, sit up tall, all of that, blah, 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 right? Then what they do is they imagine and they use their fingers, it's usually about like that, on a part of their body, and they mentally, eyes can be open for this, they mentally inject the control over whatever it is they're doing. So they're either going to do the control over food, the control over portion, or the control over motivation so they can increase it. So as they do it, what I get them to do is also, if they want to, is to make it slightly dramatic. So there will be a countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And of course, what I'm doing is mentally getting them to shout that in their mind and excite themselves. Their state is very important. So as they do that, what they then do via color or sound or feeling, we all know this stuff, is I take them on a journey of the jab stuff that's in the jab, to imagine that it's now going into the hypothalamus of the brain, the appetite control center of the brain. And within that, they create a representational thing, which represents the hypothalamus in their brain. And then they imagine it's going in. I'm keeping this really simple. It's going in. And then what they will do is then, for example, future project in terms of the result of having that in their brain, i.e. the food over control for the day, and also for the week, and also long term, so that they're, in control of food and whatever. And of course, then it's important to get the creativity going in their mind. Now, what's also important is that they experience some excitement as well. So after every jab, they go into the future, and they will excite themselves, no matter what that is. I've had all sorts of things. It could be, what they're wearing, or who they're dating, or they've seen. I had one lady the other week, other month actually. This is a while ago, and she said to me, "When I future project, I see the slim bitch Steve, not the fat bitch Steve," and I loved it because I knew she meant it. I could feel the conviction from her as she explained it. And so now what she will do at the end of her process, it's her, not me telling her to do it, by the way. So she will say to herself mentally, yes, I'm the slim bitch, not the fat bitch, right? Now that's her end motivation. So what's important to coach the client on is also that end bit, once the result of the jab stuff, as we call it, has entered the hypothalamus, right? I'm just going to have a drink. Any questions? Come on. I want some questions, you lot. Have we got any so far?
Yeah, why is it the hypothalamus again, please, Steve? Is that where the actual injection would go to, the medical one?
I like your shirt.
Thank you.
Oh, it's a hoodie.
Yeah.
Hypothalamus is the appetite control center of the brain. So my
Okay.
my neuro experts advise me. So
Yeah.
that's it. And what's the key here is once they've inserted, they use their own representational system and their voice, inner voice, of course,
Yeah.
to bring that control, whatever jab they're doing, into the hypothalamus. And now some people may have a gate on the hypothalamus, other people just see it as a little, I don't know, a circle they pop it into, and so forth. They're all very different. So it's important that we give people creative ways to embed it, embed that jab, and then take them on to the immediate, what's the result of it? Then it can be medium term, the result of it, and long term as well. And to just do that finish up of real enthused excitement where they're giving a good old 2-finger salute to being fat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And having that level of conviction. So as you can see, everyone can understand now, HypnoJab is not about head tilted therapy. Head tilted therapy, for most people, in my opinion, you may disagree, keeps people fat. It does not motivate them, because all that does is talk about the bloody problem. And then we get whingy and we get head tilty about how it's difficult and how it's hard. We want to, our job as a HypnoJab person, practitioner, is to inspire, to motivate, to be very can-do. Very can-do. And as an example, I mean, generally speaking, when I've had people for weight in the past, and they've said, you know, and I've been to psychotherapy and all that, and I said, I don't give a toss about that bullshit. You can leave that at the door, otherwise you don't work with me. And I do it on purpose because I want to change their state. I want to give them optimism. I've never had one person walk out my consulting room ever for weight, ever. Because what happens is, of course, there's method in my madness. The clients end up saying to me, oh, no one's ever spoke to me like that before. I said, well, there's your first. You're either going to be inspired or you're not. And if you're not, you don't come back. And it's that level of assertion, because they know it's done with warmth. Because I will say to clients quite often, I don't know who's more excited about you or me. They need to know. They need to know that this is different. They need to feel it. So as a HypnoJabber, what's important is we coach the client in the drama of doing their HypnoJab process. That's not coaching them to be a performing clown. It's coaching them to make sure that they have the appropriate state when they're doing this process. Because what we want them to do, of course, is to be able to do this process. For example, when I fill up with petrol and I go to pay for my fuel, I'm often tempted to stuff my face, right? Because the chocolate's there, the crisps are there, and so forth. So if I've been a client, I will do my HypnoJab once I've filled up, or before I fill up, I'll just do my HypnoJab, for example, food control or motivation. And it inspires me and conditions me to have this new behavior of when I go in, I pay for petrol, I get in the car, I'm bloody delighted that I work like Peppa Pig. Yeah? Does that make sense? Questions? I want more questions.
Can I ask if you notice any difference with people who say they've got, if people have ADHD or autism or anything like that?
Well, apparently I've got ADHD and it seems to work for me. and also, yes, I mean, ADHD is another topic, obviously, but the answer is no. No, I haven't. I'm not going to waffle. No. In fact, I think people with ADHD and other conditions such as that are very creative and are very bloody good at doing HypnoJab because they get into it, you know?
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah. Good question. Can I have some more questions?
Hello, I just wonder, so you do it once a day or sometimes they feel the need to do it more?
What a bloody good question that is. I'm glad you've answered that because I would have forgotten. HypnoJab is designed so that the user can do it whenever, wherever, as long as it's safe to do so. So, you know, I'm not going to tell them to do it when they're driving, for example, because if they're going to close their eyes, it'd be ridiculous. It's not safe. But they can do it where they want, when they want, doesn't matter. And the beauty with it is that what the HypnoJab user then does is that they've had their they do their process, and then they can also, if they can, come into the users group and say, for example, I've just had to do my HypnoJab for portion control because I nearly went back for more at the all-you-can-eat buffet or something like that. And then another user would say, bloody well done, blah, 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 etc., etc. Yeah. So yes, good question. And that's what I wanted with it, really, was a process where people could do it as much as they want, where they want, so that they had a tool, they had a rescue remedy, so to speak.
And Steve, can you hear me?
I can.
Does that mean they don't actually attend an appointment once a week, like they would do?
No, that's another good question. I'll answer that for you.
Okay.
The client will attend 3 sessions with a HypnoJab practitioner. That HypnoJab practitioner coaches. So imagine you're a HypnoJab practitioner. You would coach your client each week to use the HypnoJab. Either the food control week 1, portion control week 2, and motivational control week 3. The good news from a hypnotherapist point of view is you're not then accountable for their weight loss either, because they're learning how to do a process for themselves. So what you're doing is you're coaching them in a model, I guess, of self-hypnosis, i.e. HypnoJab process, but also giving them tools to do practical things as well as the HypnoJab. The client is then empowered to go away and then do it for life and use the HypnoJab users group as well to help them carry on. So this is very different, you see. It's not about what us guys often do is a program of, say, 6 sessions or something like that for the clients, and then hopefully they live happily ever after and blah, blah, blah. This is different. This is about coaching them in a model of hypnosis to use for themselves, but also use other tools as well, and then also have their place, the users group, to come to keep embedding how it's done, getting additional support from me as the kind of director of HypnoJab to use different things as well, and general encouragement, accountability, celebration. Yeah, so I hope that answers that one.
It does, but you don't encourage them to jab themselves more than once a week, because that could be dangerous if they take it all.
No, it's not dangerous at all.
Oh, it's not. You can give yourself, but supposing you're having the real Ozempic, to do it more than once a week would be quite dangerous. You might give yourself too big a dose.
Oh yes, if it was a medical jab, you would do it. You would do it as required, as indicated by the medical practitioners.
Yeah.
The solution is we say to a client, because this is safe, this particular jab is one of your mind. Right. So what you can do is, because there are no, and the good news is with this is there are no side effects at all apart from motivation, self-love, if you want to say that, self-confidence, etc. And because of that, you can do it as many times as you want to.
Okay.
So, Steve, is it a form of anchoring and affirmations? I was just thinking about the woman, about saying that the fat bitch and slim bitch. So finding your personal affirmation and anchoring the HypnoJab.
I think it's a little bit more than that, because what they have to do is go through an imaginary process, and so what they do when they insert the jab, they then creatively bring up the stuff in their own way. So, and a practitioner would coach them in the different ways of doing it, using as many modalities, of course, as needed, and then they embed it into their mind.
Thank you.
Whether that's anchoring or not, you know, maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know.
Mr. Miller, I just wanted to. Sorry, did you want to go first?
Hello, go on.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, do you ask them to momentarily, say if they're in the car and going into the petrol station, as you mentioned, to sit in the car quietly for a few seconds with their eyes closed and imagine this, or it can be done whilst you're fully wide awake? And
Oh, you do. That's another excellent question. Hypnosis in my world is not about eye closure. We are all hypnotized all of the time. You go out and you see something, it'll make you feel something, probably. You know, so no, they don't have to close their eyes at all. They can if they want to, but I'm glad you also said a few seconds, because that is exactly how long it can take. It's so quick. It's so quick. And you know what I think HypnoJab is as well is a pattern interrupter. Because what you're saying is, what the person's consciously saying is, oh, I wouldn't mind a bag of cheese and onion crisps and a Lion bar when they're going to pay for the petrol. And then they go in, whoa, hang on a minute. Jab yourself, in it goes, up it goes, change your emotional state, change your body language. Excuse me. The other thing we get them to do is to talk to themselves as well in different situations. So, for example, going into the petrol station, they may use the walkie-talkie technique that comes with HypnoJab, which is about walking and talking to yourself. So you talk yourself through situations.
thank you.
All right.
Could I just ask something, please? When they actually do the jab, are you just concentrating on one specific thing then? So, you know, either the food control or the portion control, you're concentrating on one jab with one thing.
Correct.
Right.
But do you know what? They could do one after another in a matter of a minute or two once they get used to it.
Yeah, I wondered. So it doesn't have to be one day and
No.
another the next.
Brilliant question.
Right.
It's what they want to do. So, and often the main one that's used actually is motivation. The motivational jab is the most popular because, you know, I'm sure many of you would agree that weight management is definitely a state of, it's governed by our motivation. That is the engine. And a lot of people will do the motivation jab. Now, with the motivation jab, they can do more drama. They can do more drama, and they do it. So it may be that they sing when they do it. Why do I give them that as an example, coach them in that? Because you and I both know that music triggers an automatic emotion. You know, and also, or I may get them as they're doing the motivation jab, is to smell that fragrance that makes them feel so bloody good. So all I have to, I'll tell you I'll let you into a secret. This is true, right? When I was at college, I had a crush on this bloke. This guy, I adored him, seriously. And he used to wear an aftershave, or fragrance, I should call it, called Marbert Man. So I and it made me feel so good. You know what I mean? I just feel so vain and everything. So, because I wanted to look good for him in those days. And then, so I found out where I could buy Marbert Man. And I've got a bottle. I should have put it on the table. I've got this Marbert Man. So now, if I'm using that as I do a quick HypnoJab, especially at things like the service stations and stuff like that, I'll have a little sniff of I won't spray it. I'll just, as I do my HypnoJab. And I don't touch the Lion bar because I want to look good. Because that represents looking great to me. Because I always wanted to look good for him. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Would you say that this momentarily imagining the jab also makes an unconscious behavior more aware of the behavior, and that kind of controls it as well? Would you say that?
Probably, possibly. But do you know what? This is how I've gone over the years. I've gone from this, how do I put it? I've gone from this state of being, I don't like to be overly academic with it. I love common sense. Now, I'm bright. I've got a postgraduate in counselling. I've got, I've been to uni several times, blah, blah, blah. Put that aside. I love logical common sense. So what it says to me is, if we take the garage as an example again, if I can get someone to stop and think, number 2, imagine, number 3, excite themselves, my common sense tells me they will get through that moment of not buying the junk food.
Thank you.
Now that maybe that is arguably conditioning their behavior to be in control, which I think it does if they do it. Yeah.
I quite like your idea about the perfume and the spray, because if you can sort of model yourself as someone who's attractive, then
Absolutely.
I think that is a tremendous motivation not to have that bag of crisps.
Completely. And also, spot on. And I mean, that's just one example, because there's lots of them within the HypnoJab. And, what some of my clients will have done is they may so here's a good one. This is a true story. Last year's a lady that wanted to manage and lose weight for the wedding. So what did I do when she was doing a HypnoJab at home? Hold the wedding dress as you do it, because the wedding dress was hung up. Or do your HypnoJab process, then, because remember, you coach them in tools as well, go and visit the dress, touch it, feel it, and think of the day. But as you do that, what I want you to do is stand tall. I want you to mentally celebrate. I want you to give the 2-finger sign to being fat, and I want you to move on for the rest of the day, absolutely celebrating the control you've got.
Thank you.
That's all right. There's another question, Pam, I think.
Sorry, could I ask another question, please? The idea I've assumed of the Ozempic is to make people feel as though they've had sufficient, as though they've had enough before they have, in fact.
Yeah.
Would you bring that in with each jab, or?
Well, with the portion control, this is more about control, conditioning their control, and having an SOS tool as well in their mind. So do I talk about so as the jab's going up, being in control so you're eating less? Yes, of course, in the portion control jab.
Right, so you would just do that in the portion control?
In the portion control jab, yes.
Yes.
Unless the client wants to do it in the food control as well. So the one thing you have to realize with the jabs, the HypnoJabs, is it's not, you must never do this if you're doing that jab, or you must never do that. So if they want to cross over something they do with their own brain in all of the jabs, absolutely not a problem at all. And what my goal is to get them into the routine of doing it, so that they're conditioning themselves to also live an 80-20 life, 80% eating well, 20% a bit of what they fancy, because they will have been, as a client, they will have been coached in that system.
I'm not aware of what your 80-20 is.
Yeah, 80-20, that's okay. I'll give a brief overview. So 80-20 is a meal planning system where the client will be coached to 80% of the time eat healthy, and 20% of the time have a bit of what they fancy, cake or whatever it is. And within 80, so to live that lifestyle, so with food, what we don't do is give them a diet. We don't say eat these foods forever, because that will make you slim. It's not that. It's a meal planning system rather than a diet. And within that, the client is also coached in a very simple and safe, and they're asked to see the GP if they're unsure, of course, but they're also coached to understand how to do intermittent fasting if they want to. And to use the HypnoJab process to be able to do that. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
I know and obviously because I'm doing it like this with you guys as a chat, it may seem a bit, there's a bit of that, do you do that there? But what's important with HypnoJab is that the client can have a flexibility within the jabs, and it's so simple. It's so simple. And you have to remember with HypnoJab, what they're doing here is they can use it whenever they want. So for example, if they're out for dinner and they're thinking, oh, balls, I really don't want to have that, I don't know, chocolate fudge pudding with ice cream, then they can do one of the HypnoJabs they want to, even if they nip the loo and sit on the loo for 1 minute.
Can it be coached as a group thing?
Oh, that's a good question. So I don't want to sound like I'm selling HypnoJab, but so bear with me. I don't want to, even though there's an offer on. Right, here I go. So with HypnoJab, the answer is yes. So you can do it with, well, as many people as you want to, as a process, taking people through a process so that they, at the end of the process, what you will have done is coach them on how to do 3 jabs, and also how to use the 80-20 meal planning system, practical motivational interventions as well, and also behavioral, arguably psychological portion control techniques as well.
Thank you.
Plus, what they then do, the client then does when they finish with the practitioner is, as I've mentioned many times, is they go into the users group. Someone's asking me a question. Oh, I missed it. Is there another? I think the question was, what happens if they don't succeed with HypnoJab? The answer to that is then they go elsewhere. I mean, there's no, if it was me, I wouldn't expect one of the practitioners to say this. But if it was my client, then I'd be saying, well, what are you going to do then? It's not your,
Steve?
you can't, I'll come to you. The one thing I would say to all of you on weight loss and weight management is you cannot own responsibility for the client. Do not feel guilty. Do not let it stress you if they come in with a whinge face. Oh, well, I've only lost ½ a pound. Well, you better try harder then, haven't you? Yeah, you've got to have that level of confidence in you not to take their shit. Because over the years, what I've learned is weight loss people, not all, but they love to be the victim. Often they love to be victim. And I will say to them, if I have had this, I shall say, you're very good at one thing. And they'll say, well, what? Being victim victorious. That's what you are. You either snap out of it or you stay fat. And that level of assertion, sometimes you've got to have that. You cannot take on their negativity, their moaning. You're giving them the tools. Always remember that. It's not your problem. Go on ahead.
Steve, hi. Have you ever used it with alcohol?
Very interesting you say that. Formally, no. However, a lot of the, well, I say a lot, many of the people that use HypnoJab as a user do use it for alcohol. Because a lot of them, especially the wine, they will often say, oh, once I've opened the bottle, I have 1 glass and I just want to I want to drink it all. So in terms of its applicability to alcohol, yes, absolutely, yeah. I'm just not focused on it, really. There's one thing I'm going to add, though, that I've not told you about yet. I'm adding a new addition to HypnoJab. And I don't know what it is yet, but it'll be done within a couple of weeks. I'm going to add, a lot of people nowadays are talking about the noise of the food in the brain, right? The noise, I hear the noise, and a lot of the ones on Ozempic, God help them, and all of that sort of stuff are saying it quietens the noise down of food. So there's going to be an addition to HypnoJab. It'll be put in the HypnoJab users group, so that all clients will get access to it, which is the, I haven't come up for a title with it yet, but a process to quieten the sound. And there's lots of creative ways that we can do that. And I think one of the things that I would say as a hypnotherapist is creativity is very important, because actually hypnosis, what is hypnosis? I mean, everyone's debate that's been going on and on. I keep it simple now. It's a different way of just thinking about things. It's a way of thinking about things, you know, and I keep it really simple. So I'm going to add that in because, well, no, one of the main reasons being a lot of people that are taking the medical jab, and often with HypnoJab, what happens is they come over to HypnoJab once they've tried the medical jab and they've got the nausea or they've got the sickness. It's so bad. I've had people hospitalized after they've had the jab, come over to Hypno, you know, blah, blah, blah. Not everyone. A lot of people will do okay on the medical jab. I'm not going to knock it that bad. But yeah, they talk about the noise, don't they? And that's why I want to add that into the users group, so that people will have the opportunity to understand how they can also quieten the noise. And I think that will be much more the tone of that when I finish my development of it. To say we'll be more gentle. Oh, well, I can tell you what I'm going to do actually. To quieten the noise, they will have two options. One will be quiet and very ASMR, is it called, as the noise drops, you know, all of that sort of stuff. The other one, however, because here's the thing, that quietening the noise in that way that I'm talking now will work for many, but it will not work for all of them, because there are a lot of people that want to be told. So the other one will be, in fact, I don't know what the words will be, but it will be shut up moaning, quieten down, shut up, move on. It'll be in that sort of language, right? Because a lot of people actually relate to that more than the quiet voice. There was something I did years ago. I don't sell it anymore, but I might bring it back at one point and add it to HypnoJab. I developed something called the weight loss whip. And do you know, it was my best-selling product by a mile. And it wasn't hypnosis. It was basically conversation. And they would listen to me. And it would be things such as, you will stop your victim victorious moaning right now. You will go and tell the fridge to do what, or whatever it was. You know, it was that tone. And the authority of it, well, I mean, it did so well. Also quite like the name of it as well, because it represents what it is. So I think the message I'm giving over is, as well here, is do not think that weight loss is all about nicey relaxation, analytical therapy, all of that. It's not. It's not. It's also about excitement, motivation, aspiration, as well as a bollocking here and there mixed in, right? So people respond to two things.
Steve,
Now,
at the risk of sounding a bit dim, I'm really sorry. When they say the noise of food, do they mean it's because they're constantly thinking about food and they need to dampen that down?
absolutely.
Not like a food sound crunching, hearing that in their head.
In simple terms, it's the greedy guts going on in the head.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Sorry.
And do you know what? To be fair to people, guys, I get it. Because often, you know what it's like when you're in a struggle yourself, it's kind of, oh, I shouldn't, but I want to. I should, oh, and the smell of it and all of that. And the noise in your head, I do get it. It's how do we, as hypnotherapists, what interventions can we use to change, to help them manage it, and then to automatically change their behavior to something different? And I think that there are two ways, like I've mentioned previously. One is the kind of ASMR, you know, it's quietening down. And the other one is in your face, shut up moaning, you're over it, right way as well.
Thank you.
And the one thing I would say, because talking about this style, it's a slightly different subject, I know, but if someone, believe it or not, I see people for depression, right? I do not treat depression in a depressing way. Of course, I'll listen. Of course, I'll listen and understand. But the reason they're depressed is that aspiration, that optimism has gone. And it's my job to excite and bring it back. That's the suggestion. Because when we are in the consulting room seeing someone, you can forget your textbooks, I tell you now, because you are the suggestion. Me, I am the suggestion. Physically, I'm the suggestion. My voice is the suggestion. Whether I can have eye contact is the suggestion. Whether I have conviction in the consulting room is the suggestion. And one of the things I have to be careful of, I'll admit it, I have to be careful I don't put weight, I can put weight on very easily. I have to be careful because who wants to come for weight loss when they're looking at a fatty in front of them? And I can easily become a fatty. Yeah. Yeah. Good questions, guys. Have we got any more? Do you want to ask? Got where it was. Who is HypnoJab for? HypnoJab is for people over 18. So it's for people over 18 who have not got a history of psychiatric stuff. And also people when they sign up to HypnoJab, if there is an issue, then of course, as per my professional training, always writing to their GP with their permission to make sure all is okay to continue. I don't. If someone's got a history of eating disorders, I'm very concerned. I would probably again write to their GP or whoever. But weirdly, I do have people that had eating disorders that do very well with HypnoJab because it's about control. It's a control. Especially binge eaters. Binge eaters, HypnoJab works very well with binge eaters because it brings back the control and also gives them a number of tools they can use to regain the control, so to speak. But also, here's the thing with HypnoJab is it can also be used for someone that's at an ideal weight. Why? Because it is about control. It's not about weight loss. It's about control. So it's about a process, something they have in their life. And that's how I'm steering HypnoJab. It's something you have in your life to control your weight at a healthy weight. So they can use it that way as well. Well, it's 5-1. Have I got any other questions? Oh, there is. Charmaine.
Yeah. You know, you said you only use it with clients above 18 years of age. Why is that so? I mean, why not teenagers? Because it's such a big thing, right? With social media and girls, especially, I don't know about, lots of young girls wanting to be a certain way. And
yeah, it's a great question. And the answer is simply, my gut just tells me it's right for adults and not right for children. And I don't know why. My gut just tells me that. And maybe I'm being protective of children. Maybe that's the key thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, can I ask a question?
You can.
Right, you were talking about the noise in the head, about food noise.
Yes.
I'm just wondering if a suggestion might be motivational music to disperse this and give them a positive attitude. In other words, you're switching from the negative of the food noise to the
I think you said it, and I think you're absolutely absolutely right. I think to get rid of the noise of food, i.e. the inner diet, basically we're talking about cravings, aren't we? Is music is an absolute strategy, one strategy to change emotional state.
Yeah,
so if you change the emotional state, they'll change their behavior.
Yeah, because it's been proved that if anyone even goes out training or out running, if you can give motivational music, they use less energy.
Absolutely.
And they become more efficient.
Yeah, you're totally right. I totally agree with you. There was something else I was going to add on that that's gone out of my head. Damn. Oh, there was something. Yeah, I come to me in time. But I totally agree with you. You're absolutely right. maybe I'll include music as an option. I think what's important, I think what you raise makes me...
It's to give from the negative into the positive all the time. Just always like a swish technique. No, come on. That's the way.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
the way, and this is what we've got to do.
Yeah, and to quieten the noise, what's going to be important when I design this in the users group so they can use these things is that they have a number of options.
Yeah.
So music might be one.
Right.
In a dialogue will be another. Movement, literally movement, may be another. Weirdly, humor is another. Humor, you look at the science of humor and motivation and feel good, it's really strong. Humor in a dialogue, as I was saying, and so forth. And also, what's the word? Tough love as well. Some people do respond to that, and I think what we all need to realize is that humans are not computers.
No.
They don't all have the same program, do they, mentally? So, and what I've learned over the years, no matter what I treat or support people with, is they're not all going to be the same. They've got to have options. You know, whether that's a smoker or or someone that's depressed. There are people that, I've supported with depression that would have got worse if I'd have not executed in my own style with them, in my own session, a very strong, positive, enthusiastic, bit of tough love mixed in approach. They would have stuck. They would have been stuck,
Just ever so quickly, it's just something I've thought
Fine,
of.
I'm not in a rush. Don't worry, you're all right.
I've suddenly thought self-hypnosis. I trained with the LCCH as well, and I've always used self-hypnosis. Do you not include it in this then? Presumably not.
Well, it is self-hypnosis. It is because what we're coaching them to do is a model of self-hypnosis. So the LCCH way, which I know, like you do, is a longer process.
Yes,
right?
yes.
But if you think about it, self-hypnosis is happening all the time. As I sit here talking to you, there are maybe suggestions of me or whatever going through my head. That's self-hypnosis. Self-hypnosis is not, in my view, is not about relaxation, countdown 10 to 1, install whatever, blah, 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 formal awakening. That's one model of self-hypnosis.
Yes, I get that.
Does that make sense?
Thank you.
But
Yes,
you raise a very good point, because one of the things that I haven't taught them self-hypnosis in the user group. The user group is so important for these people. But what I have done is delivered relaxation audio for them, so that they get the other tools as well. So what happens is, once they've seen a practitioner, they get this, it's like a tuck shop of different things they can carry on using and have the engagement with others. They're doing this, they're doing that. Not everyone joins in, but quite a lot do, and it's great. So, it's about giving them additional tools.
Steve, I like how proactive all of this is. It's a brilliant proactive approach, isn't it? The therapist is being proactive, the clients are being proactive, and I can sense and see how within the user group they'll all be proactively supporting one another as well. So that's brilliant.
And that's what I like about it, because it's never about being glum. I don't think I've had a user in there actually say, "Oh, it's really difficult," and be a whinge bag. I think they know that it's about all of the stuff that you've just described. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what are the costs for training in the methodology for the user, says Matthew. This is where I did my sales pitch. Well, the really good news is, now that it's all cemented, is that I did a group of people some time ago, and a group. I am about to do my next group, and you can just drop me an email at hello@hypnotherapybusinessschool.co.uk. I'll just repeat that: hello@hypnotherapybusinessschool.co.uk. The great news is that I'm not a greedy trainer, and I'm training people at 195 quid, which I think is a bargain. And once people qualify, because they do two very straightforward assessments, is that you would also be able to do it with groups as well. So you'd soon get your money back. You know, I want people to make money through it. You know, I'm not precious. So if you want details, do it that way. hello@hypnotherapybusinessschool.co.uk. A question: do you limit the user group to a certain number of people for a limit? No. The client user group, I want thousands in it. We all do, because as hypnotherapists, what we want to do is to build up our alternative. Because I have serious, thank you, Tom. hello@hypnotherapybusinessschool.co.uk. Thank you for that. Yeah, we're all on the same side here, guys. You know, I have some real concerns about the medical jabs, right?
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of people do well on it. They do. But I also, I only have concerns because I'm now getting mailed and contacted by people with horrendous stories, including NHS people. Hospitalizations are up, you know, and another thing, and for most people, they're going to be okay. The other thing to say with HypnoJab, if you trained in it and became a practitioner, the other way to sell it is that it complements the medical jab. So what you say to people is, you know, because the medical jabs, most people pay privately, and it's not cheap, right? With HypnoJab, you can say it's a way of, it's a rescue for when you stop using the medical jab, because most of the medical jabs you can only use for 2 years anyway. So or if they get bad reactions to the medical jab, they've got a hypno alternative. So we can sell it that way. That was always my plan, to do it that way. But now I have to be honest with you, and maybe it's just my personality, because I know what I'm like. I'm really concerned about the medical jab because of, and everyone says, oh, there's side effects with all medications. And I do get that. But the research now is deepening into the medical jab. And I've got this fear, and maybe, I don't know if you agree or not, but here's my prediction, right? In late 2026, I want to be wrong, I fear we're going to see the fallout from these the medical jabs.
But also, the medical jabs don't address the emotional and the psychological side to eating, does it, you see? But you're offering people practical tools and strategies, so they're dealing with that as and when it arises. That's the main difference, isn't it?
Totally. And it's giving people, with HypnoJab, what we're giving people is a range of tools to be aspirational about themselves, to be actually enthused about themselves, more enthused about themselves than food. They eat to live and to be healthy, but their key enthusiasm is for themselves. That's always that's the place I come from. And, you know, the way to get people to think like that, there's, you know, one way doesn't suit all. That's why we give them different options within HypnoJab from the practical coaching tools thing. Yeah. I've enjoyed doing this. It's really good. It's really nice to connect with people in the same profession. I'll tell you why, because there used to be, in the old days, as I call it, it was like, I'd go on like the master classes that the LCCH did. And they were brilliant. I loved it, right? All the time. I'd go on like one a month or something. But now everything's online and you don't have that connection with people like I used to. So it's really good to connect with the SCH people.
But Steve, it sounds bloody marvellous. So all I can say is, well done you, because it's desperately needed, isn't it? It's empowering.
Can I tell you this, on that note, I did a TV interview a few weeks ago, one of the ones I did, and the presenter has asked me for HypnoJab live on air. It was great.
Brilliant.
And the public straight away, emails were coming into me. I want to know more about HypnoJab. And things like, I've tried the medical one, it didn't agree with me. I had nausea, I felt terrible. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, there's definitely a market as well, which I like.
It's hello. It's also
Hi.
it's also been proved that as soon as they come off of the jabs, because they haven't changed their mindset, they haven't changed the way they eat. They've just been able to eat anything but in a smaller amount. Then they go on. The weight goes on, whereas that's giving them control.
Absolutely. That is what happens. And I had one lady, she lost, I mean, a lot of them do lose, they do lose quite a bit of weight.
Lose a lot of weight.
But the problem with her name was Emma, and she put all the weight back on. She came to me, she said, I wish, and this is one of the things I'm saying out there is, what we give them is a kind of safety net, if that's the right terminology. You know, you come off the jab, you're going to be worried you're going to put the weight back on, because actually you've just had a bandage on you for 2 years or less even. Here's HypnoJab. You know, we're not going to knock the jab too much, the medical one, but we have got this safety net for you.
Be good.
So actually, I mean, to be honest with you, Ozempic and Wegovy and all of them has been a great opportunity for me, because it gave me a chance to do something new that was practical and supportive, and a tool that people can use, you know. And it's great for us as well, because what we do, because I am very aware of people, hypnotherapists, I think, have took a lot of what's the word, hassle at times from people wanting to lose weight, when they, you know, when someone's visited a hypnotherapist, they think the hypnotherapist will do all the work for them, right, with weight. And I'm afraid those days are gone with HypnoJab, because what we're saying is, I'm going to coach you how to use this HypnoJab process, which is an alternative. And at the end of it, you will then be able to go into a user group to be able to do it if you want to. Sounds a bit negative, but you'll be able to go to a user group and continue. So you're not accountable whether they lose weight or not. In fact, I say to people, just say to people, actually, I'm not interested. You don't have to tell me how much weight you lose or not each week. I'm here to put you through this program so you can do it for yourself. Then you go to the user group, and then you get additional support, life support.
You know,
Good, isn't it? It is literally life support.
Have you always got to be there during the group session?
24/7. That's why I'm looking rough. No, what happens is, as a if you decided to do the practitioner, for example, you don't have to do anything. It's me. So what I will do is, once or twice a week, I will deliver something. And if I'm honest with you, it's not hard. Some days I'm in there, you know, I'll be there daily doing, you know, getting people to have a conversation or whatever. But generally, I just don't find it hard work at all.
Okay.
Yeah. So I hope you've enjoyed that insight, guys.
Yes. Yes.
And did anyone else train at the LCCH? I really miss it.
Yes, I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
I really miss it, you know.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I
loved it.
I trained with National College first, and then I did LCCH because they did conditions, you know, medical conditions.
Isn't that the difference? That's what I loved about LCCH, because LCCH, you're right, LCCH took you through different medical issues. Bulimia, panic attacks, general anxiety.
Dentistry.
Went through them.
I still get quite a lot of dentists, not a lot, but the dentists still contact me regarding things like phobias, gagging, all this excessive bleeding, and these are the things we were trained in.
I trained at the centre in York, which is where I met Tom all those years ago, and met Michael, Joseph and Ursula. Yeah, happy
You know what,
days.
Michael Joseph. This sounds dramatic, but Michael Joseph changed my life.
Yeah, it's
I can
amazing.
tell you that this is a true story. I'll be very quick. I went to train in hypnotherapy because, like many, I went to have it myself for panic disorder, right? So anyway, I went then to train in it, and I didn't have a lot of confidence. I mean, you know, I was me, but I didn't have the confidence. But he showed belief in me, and I went on his clear goal model, and I loved it. After doing that, there was I'd left school with very little, all of that. I went on to achieve 4 book publishing deals where I was paid, not self-publishing, paid. Couldn't believe it. 4 in all. My own TV show in Holland, and a great business. And if someone said what did it, he did.
Cool. He was very inspirational, isn't he?
Yeah.
He was a jokey, naughty man with his saucy language at times.
He was.
I know, but that was the generation. But I tell you what, it changed my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad there's still some of us around.
Yeah.
I did the NLP with Ursula. I did my NLP course with Ursula, and she was inspirational. Yeah.
Amazing. Very, very theatrical as well with it.
Yeah.
I know. Dramatic. Yeah. An excellent professional.
Yeah.
You know.
Good.
And unfortunately, I don't know if there's any colleges like that anymore. I don't know. But I mean, it's a shame.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, I'll let
Thanks very
everyone
much.
go. Thank you, Tom, for having me today.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Guys.
Brilliant. Lovely.
Take good
Steve,
care,
can I ask a
everyone.
question?
Yeah.
If you sit here,
I'm
you
here.
know the practitioner training or whatever that you run, how long is it? Like, how long does it take to complete it?
It's there's 2 answers to that.
Okay.
Well, no, I'll be quick. As long as you want, because
Okay.
I think it's in March. Is it March? I think in March I do a day in the dedicated group where I deliver it all, but it's all there. Do you know what I mean? So you don't have to be there. You work through it at your own pace. So you could do it within a week or 2. Do you know what? To get your assessment done, which is very straightforward. Or it could be 6 months, and you say you rock up in email and so you say to me, "Well, I've done it. Here's my assessment," and then that's it.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So basically, it's probably 2 weeks to how many years?
Hopefully not many years.
And someone's asking me, how much do you charge for 3 sessions? Oh, I think you should be charging 350 quid. 300, 350, something like that. And your training, little advert, because I've got an offer on, is only 195 quid. There you go, see. But the other thing, if you trained in it, you need to think about doing groups. There's a big thing about groups now online, because number one, it doesn't cost you anything. You'd have to hire rooms and stuff. And secondly, people generally now don't want to travel and see people. And thirdly, it's just so much easier doing it group wise. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Thank you so much. It's been great. You're really inspirational.
Thank you. And thank you, Tom.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you
Bye
very
for
much.
now.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for attending.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Tom. Bye.
Bye, Tom.
Thank you.